We want to produce fruit for him. That's why we value sharing revolutionary compassion locally and globally. Because here's the deal. Jesus gave us life. Jesus gave us new life so that we could then go and produce fruit. He went and shared compassion with the sick and the poor and those who were in bondage. He went and shared compassion with them. And so therefore, because Jesus did it, we should do it. Because we want to serve Jesus, then we should go and share compassion with the world. This command is not a suggestion. We looked at this verse last week, and this is the last verse we'll look at, and then I'll close this out. But John 13, 34 through 35 says this. Now listen to the strong statement he opens up with. So now I am giving you a new suggestion. Now I'm giving you a new request. Now I'm giving you a new just idea. He doesn't say that, does he? He says, so now I'm giving you a new command. He's commanding this. He's expecting this of us, his trees in his garden. Love each other. Another word for love is compassion. Extend compassion to each other. Love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. A faith that produces no good works is dead. A faith that produces good works and compassion and love, and out of that love and out of that compassion is good works, that to the world will see a faith that is alive. Through our good works, people will look in and see, okay, that's a disciple. Okay, there's something different about that person. They're not just talking it, they're living it. This is a command. So the way we look at Jesus will determine the way we respond to that as a church and as individuals. This is why we as a church faithfully give tithes and offerings. The church we don't have a tree that we walk over to and say, okay, there's a need in the community, there's a need in the church, there's a need within one of the families in our church. Let me come over to the tree and get what we need. We don't just go to the bank account on Monday and open it up and say, oh, God bless us this week, just out of thin air. No, he uses the community of faith, the authentic community that we talked about, this community of faith, to support the sharing of the gospel, to support the revolutionary compassion that we share locally and globally. The things that y'all saw after our 1-year review, the things that we did last year was only because of the good giving and faithful giving of those in our body who put God first in their finances. That's why we serve here locally in the church, in our children's environment, in the cafe, on the host team, on the tech team, on the worship team. That's why we do this, is to share the compassion of Jesus locally, to serve the people who come into this church who do not have a relationship with Christ. That's why we do this. It's because Jesus told us to love one another. And there's going to be somebody that walks in this door and a handshake is going to make a difference in their life. A cup of coffee may make a difference in their life. A hug may make a difference in their life. Being able to see the scripture on the screen will make a difference in their life because maybe they don't have a Bible. The worship will lead them to the throne of Jesus, and it's going to make a difference in their life. That's why we do what we do. That's why we do 127 projects. The next one, like I said, is Saturday, February 5th. We do this. Why? To go love on the cancer patient who can't cut his grass. That's why we do what we do. That's why we do the 1016 project. Why? Because Jesus said to feed the poor, to feed the hungry. Jesus fed the hungry, the 5,000. Why do we do the 1016 project? It's so that families who can't afford or are having to work on the weekend and their children don't have food can be fed. So that one day we might share the gospel with them. One day they might say, who is it that sent this food home with us? And they might say, oh, it was New Passion Church, or it was Journey Community Church, or it was one of the other churches in this area that we've partnered with to do this. Why? Because Jesus told us to. Jesus told us to. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a command. That's why we do Missions Honduras in July of this year. We're going to Honduras to take the compassion of Jesus Christ to those who have probably a third or a half or not even that of what we have here, who live in makeshift homes, who wear American clothes because it's shipped over to them from missions groups, and so that's all they have. And so that's why we do that. That's why we're going to do that. That's why we support 2 church plants, and we're a year and a half, not even a year and a half old. We don't fully support them. I wish I could. But we support a church called Charm City Church in Baltimore. Why do we do that? Because they're ministering to the prostitutes and the drug addicts and children who grow up in those homes and have nothing. They're ministering to the people in West Baltimore, and if you know the area, you would understand that, it is rough. They told us a story when we went up to visit of a lady, the night before had basically had her throat slit, trying to get to help, and there was blood all along in the snow across the doorsteps where she was going and trying to get help. And the pastor came in and thought maybe a dog had been hit by a car and inquired what had happened, and they shared how this woman was laying across the street from their church, dead on a doorstep that morning because she couldn't get help. That's the kind of people that our finances go to help in Baltimore. You may never meet those people. You may never see that physically. But you know what? You're going to minister to little children who don't have the influence of parents, who are being taught about Jesus so that they might grow up and they might share with their family. They might have a Christian home. They might raise their children in church and not have to deal with the drugs and not have to deal with the murder and not have to deal with the prostitution. That's where your money's going. That's where your support is going. Why? Because Jesus said so. We support a church in Surfside Beach, right outside of Myrtle Beach, where a guy, and some of you might have been here when he came, went back to his area, to an area with a lot of unchurched people, a lot of people who need to hear the gospel, New Covenant Church. And your money is going to help them start up and advertise and get the word out. That's where your money's going. That's where your compassion is going. Maybe we might never go and step foot in that church, but you're sending your love financially to them. Our team has been a support to them and helped them, and so our service is going to help them. The church in Baltimore, we may send a missions team up to help them in a summer VBS. We're going to share compassion with these people. Why? Because Jesus told us to. And other things like the flood victims last year in Nashville, when we took a van full of supplies up and we took money, $1,900 worth of your love and your compassion and your support. Why? Because Jesus told us to, because those people were in need. And that's why anytime anything else comes up and is presented to our church and we have the opportunity, we're going to participate. We're going to be a part of it. Why? Because we're called, and one of our values is to share revolutionary compassion locally and globally. We don't just say it, we believe it. And we believe it because Jesus told us to do it. And we believe Jesus is the Son of God. And what He says is commanded of us, not suggested of us. And so I wonder, how do you view Jesus in your life? Are you producing good fruit? Or are you producing things that really doesn't matter?